Okay, so this is Lunch with a Veteran. It is Monday, November 21st, and I'm here with veteran Gene Ramsey. And Gene is the head of the VFW and has a very interesting story. And although it's generally lunch with a veteran, Gene's already grabbing some lunch.
Right.
And I'm going to have lunch afterwards. So we're just going to talk. It's going to be a veteran stories day with Mr. Ramsey. So, Gene, thank you for being with me today.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. And you and I have had a chance to talk about some veterans issues in the past, and I'm always, I always admire. This. I'm an attorney, but this guy really is a champion and advocate for veterans. And out there pursuing veterans' disability issues for fellow veterans and other issues all the time as well. And in fact, I guess a couple of weeks ago we were over at the VFW and you had a representative from Senator Tom Tillis.
I did. Yes, we did. And it was a good meeting. I've got some feedback that he is helping some of the veterans that are from Vietnam. That is my era, and I'm kind of going to informally tell you a little bit about my journey for the last 50 years with the service. This week being a reflection of 50 years ago, I was in a firefight, and we was running a convoy down the Anke Pass, or Highway 19, and about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we took fire, and the wrecker I was riding shotgun on, we got hit, and that particular day, we had 14 casualties of the headquarters 52nd Aviation Battalion, as well as we engaged the NVA in a firefight, and I ended up saving a guy's life and trying to save a couple other people's lives, but got into a firefight, ambush, and that particular day, 50 years ago, it was a different time frame here in Shelby. And my dad was World War II vet, and my two brothers served. And about 30 days after this incident, I got a letter from my mom who said that she woke up in the late morning hours at the same time, praying for my life, I guess a sixth sense, if you will. And as I was looking today before I came over here, I brought the commendation letter from my senior officer to recognize that. The irony of this is that, God answers prayers. He took care of me that day, and the other 300 plus days that I served in Vietnam.
May I?
Yeah.
So this is a commendation
letter? Commendation from the incident.
From that incident, from that firefight.
Right.
I want to get a picture of this afterwards.
Right.
I want to edit it into the video.
Okay.
All right.
So that's the commendation for that particular day. And of course, I just showed the fourth grade class the Bronze Star with B. Of course, that's a defense medal and many other medals that I earned. But the class wanted to see what that looked like, and it's about the third highest medal you can get in service. And so I was blessed.
That is really cool.
Blessed to have.
That is really cool.
Comrades and everybody else involved with that commendation letter that we got. Of course, it's a copy of the Bronze Star from General Westmoreland, and I just brought a copy of that.
Sure.
But I'm telling you this story to tell you that I didn't realize at the time, with the 52nd Aviation Combat Battalion, sometimes I flew as gunner to fill in at different times, and we experienced a thing called Agent Orange as we'd go into a hot LZ that would spray that, and we didn't know what it was. And then as I, pulling latrine duty and other things, didn't realize that some of that was burning the fuel from Agent Orange to get rid of things that we needed to get rid of. So I didn't have a problem with that. Came back, went into Gardner Webb 4 years right out of the jungle of Vietnam, directly within a week. And spent 4 years that the government paid for my education, helped pay for it at Gardner Webb College.
The GI Bill?
GI Bill,
Sure.
one of the best things that ever happened to me. And I went on, and somewhere about 19, and I started thinking about 1986. I got a letter from Senator Broyhill telling a little bit about Agent Orange, so I went ahead and applied for it. Took a time to get a response from the VA, and I started realizing I was having a little bit of problem with diabetes, and went on about my business working as a district manager at Western Southern for about 40 years. I had the top agency at Western Southern and got along extremely well, other than I developed a diabetic condition related to Agent Orange. So that's when I became involved, thinking about my own self and my comrades that had been exposed to this. And I did some research, and during that research contacted some of my congressmen, explaining that we were probably going to have problems down the road, and I want to make sure that I was looked after as well as my family. So anyway, I became commander of the VFW post and the AMVETS for a number of years, life member there, and the DAV as well as American Legion. Kind of got out of that as I was moving my insurance business, trying to get ready for looking at retirement. And this past year, I had an incident with one of my veterans that I called the VFW post, and within 15 minutes I raised about $1,100 for this individual. And I said, man, I need to be a part of that because I'm retired now. So I took over as the commander of the VFW. Since that point in time, have letters from Tom Tillis, Patrick McHenry, and Senator Burr, all helping with these veterans. Mm-hmm. And I became 100% compensated for my disability with Agent Orange due to diabetes and some post-traumatic stress, which most of us that had been in combat had been through.
I mean,
so
that's understandable.
So then I started working with veterans at the VFW post, going down the line to find out how we can help these veterans. And since that point in time, I've got a folder put together at the VFW that will help us with the local Veteran Affairs Office with Deborah Kahn. I've worked with you on a case. I'm working right now on about 7 other cases where that Deborah and myself are hoping they'll get paid for post-traumatic stress, because they were in the same situation or similar situation as I. And also through the AMVETS. Mm-hmm. There's a national AMVETS out of Winston-Salem. That's another route that we can go to help these veterans. So I'm trying to pay back for the things that I've been blessed to receive, and that's kind of been the journey. Now, as I was talking with my dad, I was interviewed with the Shelby Star about 15 years ago in regards to how does it feel? How did it feel? And I didn't realize my dad probably was exposed to post-traumatic stress due to his World War II experiences, who also received the Bronze Star. So as I dig into this more, I'm finding there's a lot of veterans that don't want to ask for benefits, that are due compensation, and my goal is to work with you and the VFW, these individuals, and help them get what they deserve.
Absolutely. And that would be, there's compensation out there for disability, for Agent Orange and other service-connected disabilities. That's a veteran's benefit that you work on firsthand all the time.
Yeah, I'm pretty much involved. I've got some other people involved. I've even got a letter from Senator McCain and this senator out of Georgia who is over the VA
Sure.
services. So things are starting to move with all these individuals that we're trying to help at the VFW
Absolutely.
with their benefits.
And then there's also Veterans Aid and Attendance, which is something that we do here on a regular basis as well, which can help seniors or others who are veterans or spouse of veterans receive monthly pension benefits for the rest of their
Yeah, I
life.
think I worked with you on a case you probably, my name was mentioned, but I recommended that they come to you,
Oh, thank
and
you.
that compensation has already started with this individual.
Great.
Her husband was World War II, and didn't know that they had this kind of benefit.
Sure.
And I actually didn't realize it until you brought it up to me
Mm-hmm.
at the VFW meeting where we talked about the Lady Bird deed and power of attorneys and things like that. So since that point in time, I've become involved with you in making these things happen personally for me.
Sure, I appreciate that. Yeah.
So I kind of, when I do something, I kind of get involved with it. I walk the walk, and I don't, just don't talk about it. I get involved with it.
I see that. I mean, I was impressed coming over to VFW a couple of weeks ago, and you had a good group of veterans there, and Senator, Tom Tillis's representative there from his office, and he was just very professional. Couldn't ask for a more professional young man.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to get involved with this because I was getting a little bored playing golf.
Right.
4 or 5 days a week, and grandsons a couple of days a week. So this will give me an outlet in order to pay back some of my
Sure.
benefits that I've been able to receive through the government.
I appreciate all your service that you've given to our country in the Vietnam War, and also, the Bronze Star. I mean, that's huge. That's a big deal.
Well, just happened to be in the wrong place at the time that I was needed. But I'm blessed to be back and be able to have lived a good life.
We don't know how lucky we all are
Right.
in the safety of our communities and our homes, and we're afforded that by a lot of good men like yourself who've gone out there, and women who have gone out there and really helped our country and perform our duties for our country.
Yeah, there was a nice article, I believe it was in the Shelby Star yesterday, about how many veterans that the VA is taking care of, how many fought in World War II, World War I, how many, there's about almost 60,000 in Vietnam that were killed, but we don't know how many was killed since then because we have a lot of post-traumatic stress. I think everybody's aware that there's about 22 veterans a day that are committing suicide, unfortunately, that are not
And a lot of them are coming back from the the Persian Gulf wars and things. I mean, it's almost every hour on the hour one of those guys or gals.
Yes, and they probably are exposed to more things than we're aware of.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't hit you till it's later in life. Some of these things kind of slip back up on you.
I had Evan Thompson on last week, and we were talking about the American Legion and the importance of getting involved in groups like the American Legion or VFW. And you're a huge proponent for the VFW, commander at VFW, and that's a great group that is ready-made for our veterans coming back from overseas to just go plug into the VFW and be able to have people there from different war eras and their war era that can that understand what they went through.
I want to put a plug in for the Vietnam War veterans that you were privileged to sit with in Kings Mountain.
Absolutely.
Now there's over, I think we've got 114 members now that I think we had 45 the past Monday past. It's the second Monday of every month at 8:30 in Kings Mountain. But Jim Medlin is doing a great job bringing us together. They started out with 5 years ago, and now we're at 114 members. So that's a pretty awesome thing that he started. And some of these veterans are not part of the VFW and the AMVETS in those places, but hopefully we can attract them in to help them realize that they've got some things that they're
And
probably
you
not
got,
aware
you know,
of
there are
it.
people there that understand what you're going through, people there that will help you, and just, you know, feeling part of the same brotherhood you felt like you were a part of while you're in the military. And, you know, that's why you join, that's why you do that. You know, people that have, you know, because you think about it coming out of a war zone where, you know, just horrible stuff going on, maybe in the Middle East, and then going and trying to sit in a college classroom. And I mean, you did it.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was quite an adjustment.
It was a shock, actually, is what I did.
Tell me about that
Well,
shock. Because I mean, you know, how does that
the
work?
first thing I remember is when I came back from Vietnam, I had about a week before I started in the Garden Web. And, you know, I'd come out of the jungles of Vietnam, and then I'm Garden Web College, which is a Baptist school, and I remember, man, how am I going to get about this? It was a goal of mine to finish college, and one of the reasons I joined or volunteered for the draft was to get the GI Bill. But I remember going into the first class, and Paul Stacy was my biology professor, probably the hardest class I ever took, and I took it in summer school just so I could get that out of the way. And thank goodness he had an understanding of what veterans was, what it meant, took me aside and mentored me into how to go about studying, to focus on that for, you know, for the period of time I needed to make sure I made the grades I needed to maintain and get a college degree.
Right.
So it was a shock, but I adjusted, I think, fairly well.
My thoughts though are always, I mean, you know, you're in the jungles of Vietnam, or you're in the deserts of Iraq or something, right? And, you know, Afghanistan, and or towns over there. Either one. They're different places, but your mind, you know, your mind's racing a mile a minute a lot of times when you're in those pressure firefight situations, I'm sure. And you know, and you're with this band of brothers, if you will. You know, weaponry is part of your life. Fighting is your life over there for a long time. And then you go sit down beside some other, kids who did not have those experiences, who did not. You said you came out of the jungles of Vietnam and went almost immediately into college.
Within a week.
Within a week. And so you're in the jungles of Vietnam. You're in these firefights and doing these things, and all of a sudden you're sitting in a classroom and expected to behave and act much differently, and with people who don't have your experience and who aren't used to those types of situations. And I know, I'll say this, in my mind, I've found myself a number of times saying, this person is full of crap, or they're babies, right? They don't know. They don't know, what they're talking about, or you can be, I don't know. It's just, it's kind of like, it could be a bull in a china shop type situation,
Kind of felt that way when I first came back, but I was able to set aside or put that a little bit behind me. Had a couple of buddies that came back and went to Garden Web at the same time I did. We had a kind of a brotherhood, as you say. During the, coming right out of Vietnam, we also had the many changes that was going on in America, where people weren't too happy about the Vietnam War.
Sure.
And
you had people that were actively really protesting against it,
absolutely.
would have been in direct conflict to what you were.
It was, and it was kind of hard for us to suck it up and ignore them to some degree. But fortunately, in a smaller town, we didn't face as much adversity as we did when we came back in Fort Washington. To debrief for a few days, and there's a lot of protests and things going on, similar to what's going on today.
Yeah.
But we were able to put that aside and make some friends.
So you're not moving to Canada?
No, I think I got a good story to tell you. I had a brother went to Germany, and my other brother was, I recommended he go in service for the discipline.
Yeah.
And he ended up getting in the National Guard, and came to my dad one day and said, I think I'm just going to Canada. And my dad looked at him and said, why don't you look in that mirror right there? And he said, what do you mean? He said, well, you want to see a coward look in that mirror, you go on to Canada, but you don't come home. So he went on and joined the National Guard and finished his 6 years.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of different opinions at that time as there is today. But it is a big change today as compared to what it was 50 years ago.
Sure.
The military's changed tremendously. As a matter of fact, one of my goals this year is to go back to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, where I took my basic training for 10 weeks, and then go back to Fort Jackson, because I haven't been back since I got out. But it's kind of on my bucket list to go back and check it out, and see how much they've advanced from where they were when I was in there.
Come back and see me. I'd love to have a talk about the contrast of the military today versus the military
Right.
then. I imagine it was pretty rough.
Oh, we had, yeah. A
From
lot of
boot
volunteer.
camp forward, yeah.
Boot camp was 10 weeks at that time from out of Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and you know, you'd always heard about volunteering, so I volunteered to be a fireman about the third weekend, and thought I would be on the back of a fire truck. I didn't realize I'd be shoveling coal at night on duty for volunteering. So I learned to not volunteer for a lot of things on account of basic training.
What does the Navy stand for, do you know? That's what I was saying.
Well, you know it stands for different things. I'll let you tell.
Never again volunteer yourself.
That's right.
First thing you learn. So, anyway. Well, thank you, Gene. I appreciate you coming by.
All right.
And
Been a pleasure.
for no lunch with a veteran today, but talking with a veteran stories.
Right.
You've certainly got some great stories and accomplished great things in your life. I appreciate everything you've done. Okay?
My pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you for watching.